Hey, what's going on guys? John Shea here from the No Shame Income blog, and today I'm going to be talking about 13 different ways that I've actually generated income online through the internet marketing space. So what I'm going to do today is basically walk you through a long blog post that I put together that really gives you kind of a good background as to some of the things that I've tried really over the past 5-6 years, all the things that I've done, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked, and it's really going to break down kind of the background of where I was able to make the most money, what things worked for me, what things didn't work, and where I ended up devoting a lot of my time. But if you guys are brand new on the channel, be sure to throw me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you like videos just like this one. I'm going to be releasing new videos each and every week. And if you guys actually go back and leave me a comment in the comment section, I will actually reply to your comment. So yeah, let's jump into today's video. I'm going to bring you over to my desktop and I'm going to walk you through all these different methods. So earlier this year, I actually decided to sit down and I spent about 3 hours on a Sunday writing up a blog post about all the income that I've ever generated online since 2012. So I wanted to basically put this video together to kind of give you guys a little really video version of this. I don't know how long I'm going to go on for. I imagine it'll be a little bit, but wanted to give you guys some background on some of the things. I'm not going to read the entire post, but I'm going to kind of go through all the different things that I tried and reflect on some of those things, both the positive and the negative, really how it helped me in my journey and where it's kind of led up to today. So I'll leave a link in the description below. You can actually check out the blog post. I highly recommend reading it and just using it as a reference as I go through this. But I wanted this to kind of be a means for some of you maybe to learn from some of my failures, from some of my successes, all the things that I've tried and done. And you can go out there and now, do some of these things on your own as well, depending on what you're interested in. So, with my journey, I will mention that I do have, if you end up going to my blog before I get into this, I do have this article up here called My Story, and it literally is like a 20,000 word article. It's pretty much a book about all the things that I did. It's a much more deeper dive on this, whereas this particular blog post is much more straightforward on like, here's something I tried, here's what I did, and here's how I made money, here's the positives and the negatives about it. So that's really what I'm going to kind of reflect on here in this particular video. So the first thing was podcasting. When I first really got started, I was doing some MLM marketing. I wasn't really having success with that. Kind of dabbled around for a year. I was buying a bunch of courses, trying different things. I was trying to learn SEO. And I noticed that there were a few people out there doing these interview shows. And I was like, man, that sounds really cool. What if I went out and I started interviewing people? So I took some courses on that and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is it. I'm going to go out there and interview people. And I went full on committed. I basically did this for a whole year. And overall, I just didn't really make that much money with it, to be honest. The biggest thing that I got out of it was because of all the interviews I was doing, I was able to go on a job forum, I think through one of these like high authority blogs. I think it was ProBlogger, had a job board, and someone was looking for someone to go out there and do interviews, and in addition to those interviews, actually write articles about the topics that were being discussed in the interview. So I submitted like kind of a resume to this, and I ended up winning the job. I was very compelling, right? Because I had all this experience doing these podcasts. And where that ended up leading me was I was able to go out and more or less start interviewing people just like I was already doing. And I would write an article about a specific topic. So I wasn't able to kind of use my original traditional, I would just kind of do these off the cuff interviews. They weren't really like super focused and planned. I would just ask people about their journeys. And in this particular case, I had to come up with like a specific topic. So, if I went and interviewed John Lee Dumas of the Entrepreneur on Fire, I had to talk with him the whole time about webinars and I had to prepare all these questions. So there's a lot more work involved in the interview process. And then when I was done with that, I had to go and turn that into this very actionable article. And it was like this very well thought out, piece that I had to develop based on the information that they provided in the interview. So I actually had to go back and rewatch my own interviews and listen to the things that they said and the answers. And from those, I was able to get paid anywhere from about, I think it was like $400 to, $200 to $400 is basically where it was at. There was one where I did the interview and then he had someone else write the article, so I kind of got half. But the biggest one I did, I remember I interviewed this guy, Steve Cam, who runs a blog called Nerd Fitness, And I turned that into an article and did the whole thing, and I ended up making $400 for doing the interview and writing this article. But that article was like insanely massive. I had to do like all these edits. Like it was this huge process to make that $400. But it was a good experience, you know? And the other bigger thing was that because of some of the people that I interviewed, I started building relationships. The 13th guest, I think it was the 13th guest, was someone by the name of John Haver, which I ended up eventually starting a business partnership with, and that allowed me to earn my first $1,000 day on the internet. So these were like some things that, you know, it wasn't directly making me money, but it was leading up to kind of where I am today. So by all means, I don't regret it. I built some amazing connections. I got to connect with some of the biggest people in the space, but podcasting as a whole wasn't really generating the income that I wanted. I wasn't making it big like John Lee Dumas or Andrew Warner or Pat Flynn or some of these guys who had these like massive podcasts that were, you know, bringing in thousands of viewers and listeners and all this stuff. So I ended up just deciding to stop. And even when I did, I didn't really get anybody going, hey, why'd you stop your podcast? Like, I didn't really have that many people listening. And one of the biggest problems that I made was that I was having a hard time figuring out how to monetize, and I was just kind of getting bored with it. Like, my show was sort of boring. In a sense, like I realized that it wasn't very specific in who I was targeting or what the show was about. I literally called it Voices of Marketing. So it was like anybody that had anything to do with marketing. It was very, very broad, and I didn't know what else to do with it beyond that. So the next thing I decided to get into, and this kind of fell alongside of podcasting, was affiliate marketing and doing this for internet marketing software and courses. This has probably been one of my favorite ways to make some money online. I tallied up everything that I've done through some of the most popular marketplaces in this space, which the two major platforms were JDZoo and another one called Warrior Plus. This is where most of the internet marketing based products are launched. There's literally new products coming out each and every day. And I specifically went out and basically promoted some of these products as an affiliate, where I would earn a commission every time someone bought that product. So some of the ones that I did, if you actually look at my YouTube channel and you even Google something like Stream Store Review, there's a Amazon plugin that basically helps you build this little Amazon affiliate store. So I went out and I made a YouTube video about that, and inside that video I linked to Stream Store, and people went and watched my review. They saw what I talked about, and then they said, oh, it looks cool. And then they went and bought that particular tool, and then I would earn a commission. So I was able to make from that one alone about $1,000, and that was from one single YouTube video. So beyond that, I went out and, you know, I would promote products through my email list, through my blog, like here, where you guys are seeing me, you know, pulled up on my screen. And from that, I was able to bring in roughly $26,000 to $28,000, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but roughly around that ballpark, about $30,000. So that was a really cool one. I also went out and I was able to promote through a few other platforms like ClickFunnels.com. Gumroad is another platform where people sell digital products, and then Thrive Themes has a suite of products that I'm a huge fan of, so I promoted them quite heavily through my blog and through some of my courses, things that I put out over the years, and I made about $3,500 there. And then there was a few other products that I, you know, promoted through like webinars and things like that, and was able to bring in some extra money through that. Another popular product that I promote every year, and if you're on my email list, you'll see that I do this every year when they do their big promotions, was SEO Power Suite. I managed to bring in well over $2,000 promoting that one software tool. And yeah, I mean, really some of the pros with this was, you know, you're just driving traffic in, right? If you have people that you could send to an offer through a blog or wherever, you can make money on that. You don't have to put all the details into building the product, trying to build a sales funnel, trying to do all that other stuff, right? You just send people into these offers and you make a cut. Some of the cons with that, you know, you don't own those products. I've had situations where the products end up being trash, like that Stream Store plugin. The guy is terrible at support. Product didn't work for people, and it led back to people coming back to my YouTube video and then complaining when I was just doing a review on the product. And for me, you know, the guy had helped me set it up, but in reality, it ended up being one of those things where in reality, it wasn't really a great product. And in reality, I also didn't feel great about promoting it. So I made some money, but it was like I was telling people to go buy something that was actually like a trash product. So that was another problem, right? And then some of these other products, they become very saturated, right? Like if you go and promote ClickFunnels, everyone and their damn mother is promoting ClickFunnels right now. And if you try to go out there and do that, now you're competing against all these other people that are literally promoting the same product. So that was something that kind of turned me off a little bit from that model. So depending on what you're promoting, that can be somewhat of a con. Another thing that I did was affiliate marketing, but through basically other means of making affiliate income. So this would be through Amazon affiliate sites, through AdSense, which is basically from Google's profits, that's their platform, and then AdMob, which is through mobile applications. So this was something I kind of did on and off. I ended up building a couple of what you would consider niche or authority sites. And from those, you basically have sites that are recommending products. And when people go to buy those products, I would make a commission on every sale. It's very appealing because each and every month I would actually bring in, maybe a few $100 from literally just passive income from people finding my websites through Google or through social media. And then they end up buying something through my website and I earn a commission of that sale. I don't have to ship anything. I don't have to touch anything. I don't have to talk to anybody. It's literally just passive income. So my rough estimate of what I made on that was probably about $9,000 to $10,000. Each year I would bring in about $2,000, and I was able to, I went out there and I built a few mobile apps at one point, just kind of testing it, and I managed to make about $500. So the great thing about this is very passive once you set it up, and could be really fun if you're doing something around a niche you're interested in. Like I found one site where the guy was just reviewing gaming monitors and comparing them and showing all the stats and why you want to buy one over the other. And obviously he's got some drive to be talking about gaming monitors, and there's very lucrative niches you could get into, right? Like if you went out there and did gaming chairs, for example, like this gaming chair that I'm sitting in, this thing costs like $400. So if you get a sale on this and you make a commission, you'll make a nice little hefty, you can make $20-$30 off every sale, something like that. So it's a really cool model. Some of the cons with it, in my case, it takes a ton of time to build these as assets. It's definitely not an overnight process. You have to spend a lot of time writing content, doing SEO. I built this huge social media asset. I have a Pinterest page for one of my sites that has 13,000 followers, and it still barely drives any sales. And I just felt like I put way too much time into the sites for really getting very little reward back. Now, while I still earn passive income even to this day, I just checked this month, and I think I made $200 from a couple of my sites. It's probably hasn't really been worth the time that I've invested into them. And ultimately with Amazon, you end up making very little back as to what you put in. You get 3 or 4% for every sale you make. So it's not this huge percentage. Whereas if you do affiliate marketing with internet marketers, you could make upwards of 50% or more in some cases. The next thing was selling online courses, and this was through marketplaces such as Udemy. In 2014, I decided, because I was having some success with the Amazon affiliate site model, I said, why don't I make a course about how I built one of my sites and started earning some money from it. So I went and made a course, and that blew up during their Black Friday promotions, and I said, wow, this is working, I'm going to hit this full force, and I just started going ballistic with courses ever since that time, and that's been a huge passion of mine. I've gotten really excited about teaching online and showing people things that have worked for me, what I've actually made money with. And what I ended up doing was publishing on Udemy and then simultaneously taking a lot of that content and moving it to other platforms like Skillshare, Stack Social, Amazing.com, and a few others that are out there in the marketplace. And I pretty much consistently did this 2014 and 2018, roughly made somewhere right around $100,000 from these platforms. You could see over $45,000 on Udemy, over $20,000 on Skillshare, over $20,000 on Stack Social. And even the last 2 months since I posted this, I made another almost $6,000 on Stack Social. So all pretty much passive once I put it up on these sites. And that's the beauty of it. It's literally just income coming in. I think this month I made I'm up to $500 on Udemy. Skillshare has dwindled down significantly for me, but some of these, it's managed to continuously bring in income each and every month. And it's not like I'm just sitting around continuously needing to work on this stuff. It's just sales that continue to come in from stuff that I worked on even years ago, right? That Amazon course I made in 2014, it's now 2019. So this is nearly almost probably 4.5, 5 years ago that I put something out there. I spent a weekend working on it, and this past month I made over $5,000 from one of those courses. So that's really exciting, that you could work really hard on something and then make money from it later. That's also my definition of what I would consider to be passive income. So some of the pros were that these marketplaces, they promote your stuff for you, pretty passive once you set it up. Once you get this stuff going, it's just easy to kind of get it moving. But some of the cons were that a lot of the marketplaces really diminish the value of your courses, right? Like they're selling this stuff for like these coupons for $10 or giving it all away for like this small membership fee. And that was something that really bothered me. So I eventually moved on to figuring out how can I sell my own courses through my own sales funnel or my own website without using any affiliates or any other people that would help me with this, right? Like I wouldn't have to go find some other guy's audience. I would just do this all on my own by getting cold traffic off of Facebook ads or my blog or wherever, and then being able to generate revenue from that. So I ended up hiring a mentor, and I spent a lot of time on this. And where this ended up leading me was I actually built out this entire huge long sales funnel where basically people get this ebook that I give to them. They end up getting a ton of value from the ebook. They get automatic emails that get sent out to them over a span of like 2 to 3 weeks. And those emails are basically telling stories. They're letting people learn about me, my process, the things that I've done to make money online, and that what's really worked for me in this particular niche, which was working with local businesses. And from this, I was able to spend quite a bit of money on Facebook, but in reality, I ended up generating somewhere around like the $17,000 mark, 17 to 20,000 probably. But yeah, some of the pros were that obviously I was able to make a lot more money in a shorter period of time than what I did with Udemy or the marketplaces. I didn't have to rely on other people. They were my own assets. I learned a ton about what it involves to really build a sales funnel and all the things needed to do that. But the biggest thing was that it took a ton of time to learn, and I still don't think I've 100% figured this out. I've even been contemplating hiring more people or hiring people that are doing it even better than I am to figure out, what are they doing better? How can I make this better, right? It's something that I found that was a huge time sink. I had to spend all this time building a sales page, writing emails, doing copywriting, doing all this stuff, like figuring out all the tech. Like it was this massive undertaking that I think a lot of people would give up way early in the process. Now, another thing that kind of tied into this was being able to sell online courses through webinars. So this kind of goes hand in hand with this, but from this particular funnel, the revenue that I was generating, I wasn't actually making that money specifically from webinars. They were from like people going through emails and then buying my content. Whereas with webinars, you build a really awesome webinar presentation and you could make a lot of sales in a small period of time. Now, most of the webinars that I actually did those with a friend of mine, Paul James. We were able to make quite a bit of money doing several different offers, combinations of different products. And with my partner included, I was able to do about $72,000 in webinar sales. So as you can see, this really stands already well clear of some of the other things that I tried. But overall, my cut was roughly over $36,000. So pretty amazing. My first webinar it did over $10,000 in sales in 3 days. And that was from a product that I actually originally had on Udemy that I later went and improved and decided to sell for $197 through a webinar. So this is something that I just found it was very easy for me to make a lot more money. And I ended up also putting out a software and some training with that software, which I later on went to make even more money from. So some of the pros were that you can make a ton of sales. You can automate this if you do it right. There's a lot of scaling potential, right? If you could figure out, hey, if I could put $1 into my advertising and every time someone buys that product, I could make $2 out kind of idea. There's a ton of scaling there, right? You could just keep pumping money into it and you're going to keep making money out based on the sales that you make. Cons are that it takes a ton of work to get this going. It's not just like this easy thing. You have to come up with really awesome slides and a story, and you have to come up with the right offer. You need a really solid product. Typically, it's a higher cost to get people into these webinars. It's a lot more time investment just to try to get people to give some kind of commitment. So yeah, the other thing I did, and this kind of was a little more moving backwards, but I spent some time selling courses through product launches. So this was me putting out my own product through something like the JV0 Warrior Plus Marketplace. Now, the first one I did was, I think in 2014, I called it it was like my ebook product launch. I sold it for $7, and that one I think made me like $1,000. And at the time that was exciting, right? It was like my first time. I think it did. I made a note here about $2,000 in sales with the affiliate promotion. So my cut of that was probably like $500 to $1,000. But I continued doing these launches. I ended up doing one with some of the biggest guys on JVZoo, Mike Thomas and Brett Rutecki. And I ended up doing, that one did $65,000 in sales. My cut was 15%, and then the affiliates got paid a specific amount because that was where the bulk of the sales came from. And I think I ended up with about like $5,300. So that was also, again, still pretty exciting to know that a product of mine was getting that much volume. I got 1,000 new leads on my email list, and tried out doing this a few more times. I did another one called the 1K SEO Freelance Challenge with Paul. That did almost $7,000 in sales. We did another one with Paul. That did $8,000 in sales. And then I did another with Paul, which didn't do as hot. It only made about $700 in sales. Then I decided to do a fourth one with someone by the name of Jim Mack, and this one also didn't do that great. Only did about $1,600 in sales. So despite doing some of these others, this was one of those things where you have to come up with this product idea. You have to build sales pages, build a funnel. Like, it's still almost just as much work as me doing this on my own, but now you have to go out and recruit affiliates. You're selling it for this low ticket price. I've just felt that a lot of the people who were buying didn't take the stuff very seriously, and while I made a ton of money and I got a lot of leads, I just felt that it seemed like it was just so much work, and it's like this constant thing where you're like, okay, what's the next idea? What's the next idea? What's the next idea? And it was one of those things that I think ultimately, money-wise, it can be amazing, but I wasn't super excited about the work I was doing. So it was very rewarding for profit, huge potential to build a buyer email list. Mainly it was how I built my email list. You get tons of affiliates looking for cool offers and people doing this regularly. There's a lot of people out there looking to promote these kinds of things. It's tons of work coming up with the new ideas, lots of time and energy in recruiting affiliates. Once these products, once that launch window is done, these products die out. Like, literally no one will buy them. That's just kind of how this space is with these particular kinds of products. So I found that very quickly it was like, okay, that launch is over. Like, I remember I did the video course Cash Kit, and I had some videos in there that had like some errors or things that needed to be corrected. And I went back to Mike and I was like, hey, I got some stuff I need to correct in the course. And he's like, who cares? The launch is over. And I was like, what? I want to go and improve it. And he's like, oh, whatever. The launch is over. And people already bought it. It's fine. And I was just like, okay. So that was one thing that it kind of bothered me, that was kind of the mentality of the buyers and the people who are also promoting these products. They're just moving to the next thing the next week, my thing is here one moment for 3 days and gone the next. So that really didn't settle with me too well, but again, I did make a ton of money doing it. And while this wasn't directly related to software, as I mentioned, when I did the podcasting, I ended up actually making over $20,000 in sales doing some SEO services where we sold backlinks through a partner that I met. John Haver was someone that I interviewed on my podcast. So we did that through JVZoo, and that's kind of a different category all in of itself, but I included it here because we had done it through JVZoo. Now, one of the next things I did was trying to build my own software as a service, or SaaS. So I had worked at this marketing agency back years ago, and I found that while I was there, one of the project management tools that they were using, I just wasn't a huge fan of it. It didn't really do the things I think an agency needed. While it was a little bit more generic, it had great features for what it did. It just lacked things that were specific to an agency. So I had this idea, why don't I make my own version of kind of the things I do like and add the things that I felt were missing. So I ended up building a software called Evolutely, and I spent about 6 or 7 months working with a developer to have this built out. I literally spent every day working on it, getting this thing up and running. And eventually I decided to build some training and actually build a whole product around this where people could buy the training and get the software all for one price. And do that was something we basically put together through a webinar. In fact, if you've been following my screen here, this little masterclass I have here, if you go watch the webinar, that is actually my training product combined with this software solution that I created. And we offer it for a one-time yearly price where you keep the software for a year and you get to keep the training forever. So it was a pretty compelling offer that no one else could make. It was my own thing, and it was something I got to do with a partner, which was my buddy Paul James. So building the software was really amazing. We made a ton of sales once it was done. It was something unique that, you know, I built myself, right? Like we could have competitors building their own thing, but it wasn't like someone could just be like, hey, I'm going to go sell that same exact software, right? Like they couldn't do that. There was a lot of growth potential. It felt like a real business over like some of these other things that I'd done. Some of the cons were that like I had to spend a ton of time QAing, finding bugs, testing. There's a lot of competition, you know, pretty much in every software you build nowadays. And it was pretty expensive up front. We actually only spent about $2,000, but for someone who's just starting out, like where I was in 2013, 2014, I wouldn't have been in this mindset where I could say, hey, I'm going to go spend, you know, $2,000 on this software, not knowing if it was going to work or not, or make any money. So that wasn't a lot of money for software. I know for a lot of people, they're going to spend way more money. So I kind of lucked out there on that side of things. Another thing I spent a lot of time with, which kind of revolves around all of these things, was blogging. So I started a fitness website, was the first thing I ever did online. Ended up eventually starting a blog called johnshay.net. And then that kind of led into the podcast, Voices of Marketing. And now here I am today with noshameincome.com, and that's the main blog that I have. So the blog has kind of been a hub as to everything, right? Like it's allowing me to post content like this. It's allowing me to do some affiliate marketing, write product reviews. It's something used for building, you know, giving people a place to go. Like I have now a brand here on YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube. I can tell people, hey, it's John from the No Shame Income blog. Like, you know, like something that's just a little bit more of a reference for people to go and like learn more about me, my story. I can post income reports. You know, a lot of people do this in the space, and that was sort of my idea with this. But it also leads into some revenue, which is through affiliate marketing and some of the other things that I've done. Another thing that tied into all of this was email marketing. Now, while I built my list from doing product launches and things like that, I also did that from having a blog, right? People go sign up to this masterclass, and then I get a new person on my email list, and then that's someone I can now market to over time through affiliate offers, my own products, whatever that is. It really allows me to really just own this asset. So if I were to recommend anything that you start out with, this is probably the one biggest asset that you're going to own of everything, right? Like I could have affiliate products that shut down. I could have a podcast that doesn't perform well. But if I have an email list of people that are following me and my brand, that's an asset that I can own forever, and I'm always going to have it. Those are people that obviously know me. When I send out emails promoting products that I use and recommend, people will buy those products and I will earn a commission. So it's always this asset of something that I can make money with. Some of the things I don't like about email are that a lot of people don't open email, unfortunately. And it can be a little bit tough to gauge how much people are actually paying attention other than just looking at metrics. Like people could be reading your emails for literally years and never send you an email and tell you how much they appreciate you or like your stuff. Same with these videos, right? Like I noticed I have videos that get 400 or 500 views, but then I only have like 2 comments. So it's like, and then I'll have like 20 likes. So it's clearly like people are paying attention, but they don't necessarily like reciprocate that in any other way. And it's hard to gauge that even more so with email. Another thing that I've had a lot of success with and has led me back into some of my courses is doing SEO, Facebook ads, and web design for local businesses. So I made somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000 over the years. I've had about 25 different SEO clients that I've worked with on my own. I've built over 16 websites for clients, and I've kind of dabbled with Facebook ads, just trying it out. It was like this big fad. Everybody and their mom was talking about it. All the courses are buzzing about it. And that was something I've had some good success with. Overall, you can see like one of the invoicing apps, I did over $45,000 invoicing through Billy app, over $30,000 on Upwork, which is a freelance platform where I did mostly SEO based work. And I probably have a slew of other checks that have been written for me for websites and all kinds of other things. So some of the pros are that you can make a lot of money doing this quickly if you're good at selling. There's a lot of scaling potential, right? You could hire employees and build this huge thing and build a brand, and you could build this whole consulting business out of this. There's a lot of viable ways to go about it in terms of your niche and what you offer. Businesses need this stuff really badly, I can tell you that. I outsourced a lot of it, which meant that I don't have to spend a lot of time committed to it myself. Some of the cons were that clients can be a real pain to work with at times. Sometimes it's hard to convince people that you're the person to work with, given that there's like literally a sea of competitors trying to do the same thing as you. If clients leave, you have no asset there, right? Like with my affiliate site, they're continually bringing in money, or my own courses, they're continually bringing in money. They're my assets, right? But if these clients are paying me and then they just decide to stop, I just lose that money. Like, it's gone. I had a client at the beginning of this year leave me. He was paying me almost $2,000 a month. He decided to leave and go with some other guy because that guy had some compelling reasons that maybe I was doing things badly. You know, this guy just kind of walked all over me in any way he could possibly find. And I didn't mind because the client was, I mentioned here, can be a real pain to work with. He was one of those clients, so I wasn't too hurt about it. But anyway, you do have to find the right people to make sure the work's being done, and that can be pretty painful if you don't know what you're doing. One of the last ones that I dabbled in more recently was local lead generation. So the idea would be that you build a website, you do all that work like you would for clients, and then once that website starts generating phone calls, you could give those to another company. So I have a website that's for a towing company, but the towing company doesn't really exist. And what happens is when the calls come into that towing company, I forward them to a real towing company, and that guy pays me. Right now I have an example one where he pays me $10 for every call he gets that he legitimately goes out and closes the deal. So it's a great little way of making passive income, but there are some risks. You know, basically you get all the benefits of client work without dealing with the clients. You get paid on what you produce, so you know people are only paying you based on the results they're getting. Huge scaling potential, and I think that there's a lot of results that you can actually. I enjoy basing results on actual work being generated versus telling a client, hey, we're like number one on Google, right? In this case, where these guys are paying me for phone calls and results versus them paying me because, hey, I got you to show up on Google, but that doesn't necessarily result in more business. Cons, takes a ton of time to see results with. Selling to business owners, it can be really challenging. A lot of trust is involved, right? Like I spent, with that towing site, I must have called like 15 businesses, and I finally got a guy who was like, yeah, let's do it, and it was very difficult to get through to people. Despite telling them I literally have phone calls I could give you. So that was something that could be a little challenging. And the last biggest con was that this isn't something that Google and Bing and all these sites, they don't want people making fake websites and then giving the leads to other people. So that is definitely something that you don't want to do. E-commerce. This was another thing that I did dabble in. I tried a Shopify store. I tried doing drop shipping, which is the idea of someone goes to the store, they buy a product. Once that product is purchased, I then go to another vendor and I order that product for a cheaper amount and have it shipped off to my customer. So let's just say I had a dress for $30. Someone goes to the website, they buy the dress for $30. I then go to my vendor and I pay $15 for it, including shipping, whatever it is, and I make a $15 profit. And I don't have to carry the inventory, none of that stuff. And it was a really cool model, something that's still really big in these days. I just was never able to really get it off the ground. I didn't get into even running Facebook ads, but that was really where I probably would have had to take it. I found that this was something, there's a ton of opportunity out there, tons of niches, lots of opportunity to scale, a little bit more predictable as income, but there's a ton of competition. It's hard to really do well unless you have a unique product, in my opinion. If you go out there and try to sell stuff that other people are doing, you're just competing, right? Relying on a vendor to make sure something goes out, right? Like what if the stock runs out or whatever, something becomes unavailable, it's a little scary. And a couple other things I tried were selling Kindle books, made a couple $100, not a lot of money there. Some people swear by that stuff, but I was never able to make a lot of money from Kindle. Coaching and mentorship, I have made probably about $4,000 or $5,000 doing some private one-on-one coaching, offering some of that stuff. And my rough estimate of earnings was somewhere north of $300,000. But I'm likely, as I mentioned in the article, probably forgetting stuff. So it's a lot better than what I've been able to do in 2013, making $45,000 a year, 2014 making $40K a year, 2015 making $50,000 a year, and 2016 I was making around $40 to $50. So I never really got above that $50,000 a year mark, but doing internet marketing on the side, I've managed to make well over $300,000, and I literally have a huge amount of savings in my bank account right now where I probably will not need to work a job for a very long time. So with that being said, these are some of the things that I've done. Wanted to share this with you guys through a video, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment on the blog or the video. And again, we'd love to hear from what you guys think, maybe what things you guys are trying, what's working for you. And again, a lot of the videos that I'm going to be producing here over the coming weeks and coming months will probably be based around a lot of the things that I've tried and the things that I've done. And I'll give you a lot more insight as to some of these things. And hopefully you guys can go out there and start making some money too. All right, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.